Hello guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to install the latest version of macOS, currently macOS Sequoia, on your Windows 10 or Windows 11 computer. Now here are the requirements. First, we need macOS Sequoia Installer File. Second, we need Balena Etcher. We need Opencore EFI configuration file. We need ProperTree. We need Explorer++. We need Gen SMBIOS. We need MiniTool Partition Wizard, and we need Opencore Configurator. And we also need a 32 gig flash drive. Now I'll provide the links to each and every one of these files in the video description. Now the next thing we're going to do is check the processor we are using in order to know what EFI configuration file to download. So to do that, let's hold Ctrl+Shift+Escape to open Task Manager and then go to Performance, and under CPU you can see I'm using a Core i7-4790, which means this is a 4th gen Intel processor, and 4th gen processors are called Haswell. So you should find out what processor you're using and the code name associated with it. For those using AMD CPU, you don't have to worry about this, as you can use the same file for all AMD Jaguar Ryzen and Threadripper. Now let's head to our browser and download the required files. So the first thing we're going to download is macOS Sequoia Installer File. I'll provide a link to this page in the video description as well. And we can just click on download Sequoia right here, and it should take you to MediaFire. The file size is around 16.7 gigabytes. So just click on download and it should start downloading. I already have this file downloaded, so I'm just going to cancel it. Next, we're going to download Balena Etcher. And this is what we're going to use to create a bootable disk. So click on balena.io and then click on download Etcher. Now select Etcher for Windows, since we are installing on a Windows PC. So let's click on download and it should start downloading. Next, we also have to download ProperTree. So let's search for ProperTree. And you can see the link to GitHub. So let's click on it. Click on code and then download zip. Next, we're also going to download Explorer++. Click on the link to explorer++.com. Click on download 64 bits. Next, we're also going to download Gen SMBIOS, which we're going to use to generate Unix serial for our Mac. Click on the link to GitHub. Click on code and then click on download zip. Next, we're going to download MiniTool Partition Wizard. Click on the link to partitionwizard.com. Click on download now. And also we have to download Opencore Configurator. So search for eTech box Opencore Configurator. And you should see this link to download Opencore Configurator from etechbox.com. Click on the link and then click on download right here, and it should start downloading. Now, one last thing we haven't downloaded is our Opencore EFI configuration file. Now, there are 3 ways you can get Opencore EFI configuration file. Number 1, you can either use the Prebuilt EFI to run the installation, and you can get it from eTechbox Opencore Prebuilt EFI. I'm also going to provide this link in the video description. Secondly, you could build your EFI from scratch. I already made a video on that, and I'm also going to post it in the description of this video. And lastly, you could request for a custom EFI by heading to etechbox.com and then click on custom up here. And from here, you can request for a custom EFI based on your specific hardware. So whichever you prefer. If you want to build it from scratch, then check the description of this video. I made a video on how to build an EFI from scratch. If you want to use the Prebuilt EFI, which in most cases should work for your hardware, then you can proceed with the Prebuilt EFI, or you can request for a custom EFI from etechbox.com. Now, I want to download a Prebuilt EFI, and that is what I'm going to use for this video. In this case, I'm using Haswell, which is 4th gen Intel processor, and that was what we checked earlier. So I'm going to click on the download. This is for 4th gen and 5th gen. If you're using a Ryzen processor, you can see desktop AMD Bulldozer, Jaguar Ryzen, and Threadripper should download from here. So I'm going to download for 4th gen by clicking on the download button right here, and then click on download. and it should start downloading. So after downloading everything, we can close our browser and then open our download folder. And here we go. This is our Sequoia Installer File. This is ProperTree. This is Explorer++. This is Gen SMBIOS. This is Balena Etcher. This is MiniTool Partition Wizard. This is Opencore Configurator, and this is our Prebuilt EFI. Now I'm going to guide you step by step, so make sure you follow everything. Now the next thing we have to do is install Balena Etcher so we can flash our installer file into our flash drive. So let's install Balena Etcher. Now click on Flash from File, and then locate your download folder and select our macOS Sequoia installer file, which is right here. You can see around 16.6 gig. Click on Open. Now click on Change, and this is when you connect your flash drive, and it should show you. I connected a 32 gig flash drive, and this is it. You can see right here. Now we select the flash drive and then click on Flash. Now this should take around 10 to 20 minutes. It all depends on the read and write speed of your flash drive. Now while this is running, we can work on other things. So let's head back to our download folder, and then let's extract our EFI configuration file right here. Extract files. Okay, so if we open our EFI configuration folder right here, EFI open, you're going to see boot and OC. Boot is our boot files and OC is our configuration files. Let's head back to our download, and then let's extract ProperTree. Right click, extract files. So let's open ProperTree, open, and then run Windows batch file ProperTree. Double click on it. Okay, now click on File, Open, and go to Download, and you should find EFI, which is our EFI configuration folder. Open, go to OC, and then click on config.plist, and then open. So this is our configuration file, our config plist, and from here you can see lots of settings from ACPI to booter to device properties, kernel, MISC, NVRAM, and the rest. Now if we go to platform info, you can see that our EFI is mirroring iMac Pro 1,1. So we have to make changes to this. If you're using a laptop, you're not going to use iMac Pro 1,1. Depends on the desktop, the GPU you're using, you may have to use a different product name. So we're going to generate unique serial for our Mac, and we can close this. Let's head back to our download folder, and then extract Gen SMBIOS. Extract files. Now open the extracted folder, open, and then run Gen SMBIOS Windows batch file. So just double click on it. Now enter 1 and hit enter to update Mac serial. Enter to go back. Now enter 2 to select our configuration file. And right here we should go to EFI, open EFI, OC, and drag config.plist right here, and we can drop it on our Gen SMBIOS. This is the directory of the file, and then hit enter. Now enter 3 to generate SMBIOS and hit enter. Now the SMBIOS you're going to use is based on your CPU and your GPU as well. There's a guide on Dotania that covers that. If you're using a Coffee Lake processor with an iGPU, then you should use MacBook Pro 15,1. If you're using Kaby Lake, you can see MacBook Pro 14,3. So just check through this guide based on your processor you're using. But for most desktops, you're going to use Mac Pro 7,1, and that is what I'm going to use in this case. And I hit enter, and you can see unique serial, board ID, and all of that generated. Now hit enter to return, and we can now quit Gen SMBIOS. Now if we go back to ProperTree, and then load back our configuration file, and then we go back to platform info under generic, you can see now that the new product name is Mac Pro 7,1 with a serial number and UUID. Now the reason why we do this is so it will recognize this as an actual Mac, and we can also sign into our Apple account and use all Apple services. So that is why we're doing that. Now let's head back to our download folder. We can delete Gen, SMBIOS and ProperTree since we've already used them. We've successfully flashed macOS Sequoia into our flash drive. Now let's close Balena Etcher and then open our download folder again. Now we can delete the EFI zip, delete Balena Etcher. Now let's install MiniTool Partition Wizard. Select the language, continue. We are going with the free version, so continue installing free edition. Next. Installed. Now click on finish to launch. So right here we can see the disk on our PC, disk 1 and disk 2. So if you look closely, you can see disk 2 right here has an icon for a removable drive. This is a flash drive of 32 GB. And if we check, we can see a partition called EFI here, which is our boot partition on our flash drive. So let's right click on the EFI partition, and then we are going to change letter. Let's change letter to something like X so we can remember. Okay, and then click on apply. Yes. Next, we should also create a new partition with our unallocated space. Now in your case, it may not be up to 12 gig, depends on the size of your flash drive. It may be more than 12 gig if you're using a 64 gig flash drive. So I'm just going to right click and then create a new volume. Yes. And then we're going to set the file system to NTFS, and the partition label, we can call this, let's just say OC, and then click on OK. Now click on apply. Yes. Click on OK. Now we can close MiniTool Partition. Now the reason we created a new partition with our remaining space is so we can move Opencore Configurator there. After the installation, we're going to need Opencore Configurator. So let's copy Opencore Configurator, this PC, and you can see OC, which we created in our flash drive. And let's paste it there. Next, we have to copy the EFI from our download folder to the EFI partition of our flash drive. And to do that, we need Explorer++. So let's extract Explorer++. Open the extracted folder. Right click on Explorer++ application and run as administrator. Now you should find EFI with the label X right here, which is the label we assign to the bootable part of our flash drive. If you don't see this, just head back to MiniTool Partition Wizard and then just repeat the same thing we did by selecting EFI partition of our flash drive right here. Right click and then change letter, assign a new letter to it, whatever letter. Click on OK and then save. So let's close this. So you can see the EFI X partition right here. So let's open it and then delete everything inside. Now locate your download folder from here. Click on downloads. Now open our EFI folder and then copy this EFI right here. Copy. Now go to this PC and then locate EFI X, and then we can paste it there. So this is how it should look like. If we open the EFI folder, we should find boot and OC. Now we can close Explorer++. Now we have to check where we intend to install macOS. You may have multiple drives in your system and you want to run Windows alongside macOS. That is fine. Or you have just one drive on your system and you want to partition the drive to install macOS. So now go to search bar and then search for partition. Click on create and format hard disk partitions, and you should see the list of all the partitions in your PC. So you can see disk 0 right here is my SSD with 128 gig, and disk 1 right here is our removable flash drive. So I intend to install macOS on disk 0 right here. So I'm not going to do anything, but when I proceed with the installation, I'm going to erase this disk. So make sure to copy files from it if you have just one drive and you want to install macOS on that one drive. But you could partition Windows alongside macOS by right clicking on the drive partition and then shrink volume. So in this case, we're going to shrink a particular volume and allocate to macOS. So let's say I want to give 50 gigabytes to macOS. I can just set it to around 51,000 megabytes right here, and then click on shrink. So you can see 50 gigabytes of unallocated space right here, and we could use it for the installation when we want to install macOS. But in my case, I want to install macOS on my main drive and remove Windows totally, so I wouldn't need to do this. But if you want to run both Windows and macOS, then you should partition the drive, or you could use a different drive if you have another drive available. So I'm just going to extend this back. Now we can close this, restart our PC, and then start the installation. Now let's boot into our BIOS. Now go to boot settings and disable fast boot. Also disable secure boot. Next, we go to storage configuration under advanced settings and set the SATA mode to AHCI. And then finally, we can set the boot option 1 to our flash drive, and then we can save changes and then reboot. First, select reset NVRAM, and then next we install macOS Sequoia. Now select a language and continue. Go to disk utility so we can erase the drive and then install macOS. Now if you look up there, you should find our hard drive right there. Now we're going to click on it and then erase, and then give it a name. We're going to call this macOS 15. Now set the format to APFS. That is the format macOS would recognize. So let's set it to APFS and then erase. Now we can click on done. Let's close this page. Now we're going to select install macOS Sequoia and then continue. Continue again. Now agree to the terms of service and continue. Now select the drive we erased earlier and then continue to begin the installation. Now this installation should take around 30 minutes to an hour. It may restart severally while installing, but you just have to wait. And finally, the installation is complete. Now we can set our language, set our country or region. You can set everything else based on your personal preference. Now let's ignore Apple sign-in for now until we are done with the setup. Now let's go to about this Mac, and you can see this is Mac Pro 2019 3.6 GHz Intel Core i7. This is a graphics card RX 478 gig, and everything else is showing correctly. Now let's close this. One last thing, the EFI of our flash drive contains the boot files. We have to copy it from our flash drive to our main drive, and to do that we need Opencore Configurator. That was why we created a new partition on our flash drive called OC. So if we open that OC, we should find Opencore Configurator right here, which we downloaded. So let's drag it to our desktop. Double click to unzip, and then we can run it from here. Once you run Opencore Configurator, you're going to see it like this. Now look up here and you should find an icon for Opencore Configurator, and right here we can see EFI on disk identifier disk 0 S1, which is our flash drive. You can see the device name Cruiser Blade, and you can see the second EFI right here, which is on our main drive HFS 128 gig. So let's mount the EFI partition of our flash drive. Enter your password to confirm. Click on cancel. Also mount the EFI on our main drive, and then click on open partition. So this is the EFI on our main drive, and if we go back to Opencore Configurator up here, open partition for our flash drive, and this is the partition for our flash drive. So if you open our flash drive partition, you should see boot and OC, which is our Opencore files. You can see right here, everything is complete. And then if you check in our main drive, you should see Windows files, Microsoft right here. So what we have to do is delete the EFI in our main drive and then copy the EFI from our flash drive to our main drive. Now if you want to run Windows and macOS, then you don't need to do that. All you need to do is open the EFI on your main drive and then open the EFI on your flash drive, copy boot and OC from your flash drive to your main drive. But in my case, I don't really need Windows, so I'm just gonna delete the EFI on my main drive and then copy the EFI from my flash drive there. And that's all basically. I can close this, eject the EFI from here. We can now remove our flash drive and restart our PC. If this video was helpful, kindly hit the subscribe button and turn on your post notification. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one.